Nguyên Hạnh qua đây giúp chị nha.
And assess threats. Why would an HOA be so aggressive that it drove residents away? Homeowners associations typically wanted stability, not turnover. Something didn't add up, and in my experience, incongruities often pointed to hidden motivations. I filed a formal appeal with the HOA board requesting a reasonable accommodation and offering to modify the trellis if necessary to meet guidelines. The response came 3 days later. Not only was my appeal denied, but we were now being cited for 5 additional violations. Mailbox color not to specification, though it was the same as when we purchased the home. Lawn height exceeding the 3-inch maximum by approximately half an inch, improper garbage can placement, though it was behind our fence, unauthorized garden plants, Sarah's medicinal herbs, and creating a nuisance with my youth self-defense classes. The total fines now exceeded $2,000. This wasn't random enforcement. It was targeted harassment. As I showed Sarah the notices, I saw a familiar determination in her eyes. "This isn't right, Jack," she said quietly. "We need to stand up to them, not just for us, but for everyone else they're bullying." I nodded, feeling a calm settle over me. The same calm that preceded every mission I'd ever led. "I just wanted a quiet retirement," I said, but it looks like we have one more operation to plan. I requested a meeting with the HOA board, determined to address the situation professionally and directly. The meeting was held in the community clubhouse, a tastefully decorated space that screamed over-budget renovation. 5 board members sat behind a long table like judges at a tribunal, with Karen Matthews in the center. At 58, she had perfectly coiffed blonde hair, jewelry that cost more than most residents' monthly mortgage payments, and the kind of smile that never reached her eyes. To her right sat Doug Peterson, a thin man with a perpetual frown, introduced as the treasurer and vice president. The other 3 board members remained silent throughout most of the meeting, nodding along with whatever Karen said like well-trained puppets. "Mr. Morrison," Karen began, her voice dripping with condescension. "We understand you're new to community living, but our rules exist to maintain property values and neighborhood standards. Everyone else manages to follow them." I maintained my composure. Decades of high-pressure situations had trained me to keep my heart rate steady under fire. I presented printed examples of similar structures in the neighborhood that had apparently received approval, including one in Karen's own backyard. I also noted several discrepancies in the financial reports that were publicly available. Vague line items for landscaping services and consulting fees that seemed unusually large for a community of our size. Doug's face reddened at this while Karen's smile froze in place. "We're not here to discuss association finances, Mr. Morrison. We're here about your violations. Either comply or face the consequences." The dismissal was absolute. But in that moment of tension, I'd seen something valuable, a flash of panic in Doug's eyes when I mentioned the finances. In tactical training, we called this identifying the weak point. The following week, HOA patrols around our home intensified. I caught Chad taking photos through our windows, documenting God knows what violations. When confronted, he smirked and said, "Just doing my job. Maybe if you don't like being monitored, you should move somewhere without rules." His hand rested casually on his belt near a taser, an unnecessary show of force that told me volumes about his character and training. As a SEAL, I'd learned to read people quickly, identifying threats and weaknesses. Chad was a bully who'd never faced real resistance, deriving his sense of power from intimidating those who couldn't or wouldn't fight back. His type was common in certain security roles. Men who couldn't make it in legitimate law enforcement or military service but craved authority. Sarah continued tending her herb garden despite the HOA notices, refusing to let intimidation tactics deprive her patients of the natural remedies that supplemented their treatments. One evening, returning from a particularly grueling shift where she'd lost a young car accident victim, she decided to dismantle part of the trellis. "It's not worth the battle, Jack," she said wearily.